Alright guys, before today's episode, just a wee reminder that tickets are still available for our next Some Laugh live show, which will be at the Pavilion Theatre in Glasgow on Sunday the 31st of March. We've got an absolutely cracking show lined up for you, some brilliant guests already booked for that one, so if you've not got your tickets yet, do snap them up before they're all gone. As ever, you can also sign up to our Patreon for as little as £3 a month and get access to an extra episode every 2 weeks, as well as bonus content, including from our previous live shows. Get footage from the 2 Glasgow shows at the Stand Comedy Club and the Glee. There's also some behind the scenes footage at the Glee. We've got 2 from our live shows at the Edinburgh Festival, including a 40-minute behind the scenes documentary showing you a wee bit of a day at the Edinburgh Fringe from us. And there's also the London show that we done live at the London Podcast Festival as well last September. Finally, you can also check out both myself and Stuart, and hopefully, if not now, very soon, Stephen's stand-up specials, all available for free on the Some Laugh YouTube channel. Do check those out if you haven't already. But aside from all that, guys, we hope you enjoy today's episode. Welcome to the Some Laugh Podcast.
It could be like, oh, that was some laugh, or there was just some laughs.
Some laughs.
Well, no promising all laugh.
No, there's going to be some.
It's some laugh.
He's a proper like London geezer
Yeah.
from Ealing, like fucking big guy, big rugby looking dude, and he's like never met him before, and he goes, I said, I'm gonna try and bloke it up. So I was like, oh, fucking, what's that over there in the wall? And he goes, it's a radiator. And I was like, oh, what does it do? He goes, looks at the sofa like, he's a fucking idiot. Who is this dickhead you brought over? I'd never seen one. Like,
Never seen a
So
radiator.
you've never seen one in Australia before?
no.
I suppose you... That's crazy. Yeah. I guess I didn't realise, because we went to Australia, we've been a couple of times.
Aye.
I don't-
Never
you
a you go, where's the fucking radiator?
Yeah. Because I guess you're not...
When it is 40 degrees.
I need this room to be hotter.
I'm trying to turn down the radiator. It's too fucking hot in here, man. I guess you just have aircon, don't you?
Yeah.
Is that just standard?
Yeah, but we've also got like the heater in a room would be like it's quite tall, it's planted on the wall, or a fixed heater,
Right.
but it's one spot and it will heat up a room. Do you know what I mean?
I hear the thing is as well, people were saying to me when I was in Perth the first time, like, oh, it's annoying in the winter because you don't have insulation in the houses. So, you know, to keep the heat in.
Oh yeah. It can
So
get quite nippy.
When it's cold in the winter, it's
People don't think it can be cold in Australia. It can be fucking cold, especially like Adelaide. Have you not been there?
Yeah,
winter?
I
you have?
Well, not in winter, but I went in the summer
What,
in
we're talking
2020.
like 20 degrees or something? Is that cold for you guys?
I know.
Oh, God.
I'd fucking
chilling.
kill for that thing.
10, I'd say 8 to 10 is pretty cold,
Aye.
but some nights can get to like
8 to
4. But it's a different kind of cold though. Do you know what I mean? Like, I would say
it's warm. Cold hit's different in Australia. Aye, I know, because you can keep your fucking just keep wearing a t-shirt.
oh no, I've got to put my socks on. It's because of the disparity of like how hot it gets.
Aye.
Yeah, but look, see when people say that, I'm like, surely temperature's temperature. I don't understand how people say it's like relative to whatever it is, like you're saying there. Like, surely that just means it's not that temperature.
It just means how used to it you are, basically, innit?
All right, is that what it is?
Aye.
Because I thought when they were saying
Get
it, it's like,
acclimatised.
because you know how when it's like say 12 degrees outside, but they're like, for some reason it's like it feels like it's
Yeah.
6 or
It's
whatever.
like that.
Surely then it's 6.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yes, I do know what you mean.
Do you know what
it's
I
like,
mean?
why does it feel like that?
Aye.
But it's fucking not that.
If it feels like that, then it is that.
I think it's the wind that makes it feel that way.
Something like that.
It's
aye.
fucking
Right.
because that's what I was saying. Adelaide can get cold because you're near the coast. Most cities in Australia are by the coast anyway. That no one fucking really has built a major city in the desert, but
No.
they're all sort of in the winter get quite breezy. But
Yeah.
here is like fucking snow.
Yeah.
Like
It's proper chilly, man. It was like bad the weekend. It was snowing and all that a bit. And
Had you ever seen snow before?
nah. No,
Because
first time
that's-
I've seen it, I look like a moron as well.
Yeah.
Oh, I lost my mind. No, I was so excited. I know what had happened is it was in Nottingham, and it was back when I was teaching, and so I wasn't doing stand up here yet, and I remember like being at the tram stop, waiting to go. It was like 7 a.m. and there was fucking snow on the ground. I was like, fucking hell, it snowed last night. So excited, so I start kicking the fucking snow.
What age were you?
This is only
Recently,
like 8 years ago. It's like I'm in my 20s. Like, there I was, fucking in my 20s, kicking snow, absolutely beside myself with excitement, like proper, like, oh my god, snow. And then I get onto the tram, and there's one other fella, and he's like nodding him for. He's like, looks at me, he's like, "What were you doing?" And I was like, "Oh, mate, I probably seem mental, but." Yeah. I'm Australian and I've never seen snow. And he just looked at me like, you're an idiot. And I was like, smiling away like, God. And he goes, mate, that wasn't snow. I was like, what? He goes, that was snow grit. It was the fucking salt. That had put down on the platform. And I thought that it was like little bits of snow. So I'm kicking fucking salt, eating it. Making salt angels.
Don't eat brown snows. Salty.
Oh yeah, I was
Fuck's
fucking.
sake.
Oh, I couldn't believe it. I was like, I felt like an absolute moron. And so I was like, when I first saw snow, though, I was outside like,
because you're like,
hands out.
you know, they show it as all white and nice in the movies, but that's probably not the reality. It's probably more like grit, you know. It's
It's so true. Why did I? Yeah, it wasn't even like fluffy looking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that would have been the first snow.
I mean, I know you say you didn't see snow before. You must have seen it in like on the telly or something like.
Yeah, I've seen Home Alone. That's the only time I've seen
Sounds
snow.
like you've never heard of the concept.
I'm not doing Australia any favours at all.
So you're from Adelaide?
Yeah.
Because I went there in 2020. I was there, I had a weird time there, obviously, because that last week I was there was when it all started kicking off with COVID and all that shit.
Yeah.
But Adelaide seems like an interesting place to me, because it's like to be honest, do you know what it felt like when I went? It felt like I was in the deep south of America. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, like what, racist?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
And there's like a big sort of mountain in the background. It felt like a wee kind of mountain town.
You mean like geographically?
Kind of just just the layout of it and stuff like that, and even just like because the thing that they always said is it's kind of like, you know, small and kind of conservative town a wee bit and Christian-y, which I know you obviously had experience with.
Yeah. Cult laugh, baby.
Yeah.
It was it is very religious, and you get a lot of street preaching and stuff.
Right.
And it's known as the city of churches because it's got a lot of churches per capita. It's kind of like Edinburgh with its pubs. Do you know what I mean? It's like, and they're like, oh yeah, we got the most pubs per capita in the world, or Europe or whatever. Fuck. We just got heaps of churches, and then like I feel like the layout, because it's a weird city because it's the smallest capital in Australia,
Right.
and it kind of gets shit on by people from Melbourne, Sydney, wherever.
Well, do you know what somebody said to me this year? Like, because they live in, I think, Melbourne.
Yeah.
And they just say it as delayed because it's like a half-hour time difference or something.
Yeah, that's right. The time is
Is
like
that what
half
people
an hour.
say? So they,
They're probably also saying it because that's very true, but also they're probably saying it because we're catching up in terms of getting
Culture.
shit culture and fucking all that. But because it's in between two wine regions, so we're like quite famous for our wine, like internationally, like worldwide. But I'd say like you've probably got a bit of a warped view of Adelaide because you saw Adelaide during the best month of its year, because during the fringe time, like it's fucking phenomenal. Everything's happening. Everything. I say that it's like the city has got ADHD for a month because they put on not just the Adelaide Fringe, but you know the
racing thing.
fucking racing.
Yeah.
They've got.
That's right, aye.
They've got so the V8 supercars is there. They've got the.
I went to a soccer game when I was there, as they call it over there.
Oh.
Annoyingly.
Did you go to Aussie Rules?
I went to an actual football game.
I'm asking if you also went to Aussie Rules.
I did not, Stephen.
Sassy Stephen in the corner.
Jesus
No, I
Christ.
went to Adelaide United. I seen them.
Oh yeah.
Aye, they get beat like 5-0 off of Western Union, whoever the fuck they are.
Really?
Aye.
What?
It's pretty
Western Union.
bad. Yeah, apparently, I don't know where they're from.
Not the Western.
Western Australia, probably.
It was just a cunt to work in a bank or something, I think.
Better than the extra team.
You know the guys that exchange your currency? It was just 11 of those guys beat them.
They're out there with their fucking, do you need a new checkbook?
But so all that stuff goes on during the Fringe.
Yeah, and then you've got Wome Adelaide, which is a massive like music festival. There's like 4 or 5, and then you've got the Adelaide Film Festival, and then they've got the Adelaide Festival, which is kind of like a separate. So the Fringe
It's like in Edinburgh, you've got the Edinburgh Festival, and then the Fringe, what we do,
Yeah.
is the main thing, but
Yeah.
it's meant to be the Fringe of it.
It's so random. Like I'm like, spread it out during the year, and everything would generate more spread out income or like revenue for the city. But they just chuck it all in 1 month or 5 weeks.
Why is that?
I don't know.
Because
I don't know.
people are there anyway, and they're like, they want to just do everything.
Yeah, they're like, oh yeah, people are here. Fucking, let's just do it now. Go.
But then I felt like because of that, the audiences were weird because you'd be doing a gig and it would be like cunts who've actually come to see the racing, and then they might just go to a gig randomly,
Yeah.
and then you're not playing to comedy audiences, Yeah,
that's so true. Because people rock up like, oh fucking, I'll go see Mark Jennings. I just went to see Cabaret. This might be right up my alley.
Big crossover.
I've just come from the V8 supercars, and I'm gonna go see someone from Glasgow. I don't know.
Yeah, no, there definitely is that.
the room that I was in for it, the Red Room in the Austral.
Oh fucking
it was
hell!
the hottest room
That
I've ever.
is. That's why it's
I
called
was
Red Room.
there.
Yeah.
I was there.
You're
I was there
literally.
the following year though, or whatever, and
They put an aircon.
they'd fixed it, and it was great. It was
I
one of the best
remember
rooms
when
ever.
you guys told me, and you were like, "Oh, we're in the Austral," and that's kind of like, it's got a rep in Adelaide as being that pub where shit
it's-
kicks off. It's rough. They've actually just recently, since you guys have last been, it's been fully like bought out, refurbished.
Oh, really?
Looks like a bit different.
It's like gigging in fucking, it's like basically gigging in Walkabout or something in fucking Glasgow.
The computer went off.
That's all right. That's right.
Yeah, it felt like that. The food was like good and stuff, and I liked the room was nice. It's like nice and small, but it was like 40. This was a heat wave when I was there. And it was
Oh,
like
man.
42 degrees.
This
or
is
some
the other
shit.
thing. Like the festivals are all on, and in February it's fucking peak heat.
It's hard to
It's
compete.
so hot.
Yeah. And like,
That's why I think you've got a warped view because you've been there during this busy time. But the rest of the year, Adelaide's known as being a sleepy city.
yeah.
Right.
Well, so is Perth as well, isn't
Yeah,
it? Like,
yeah.
Because I thought Perth was amazing, but then everyone says, "Oh, it's like this is like the only time it happens," and then the rest of the year,
Yeah.
it's boring.
It's weird. I went there, and my missus had never been to Perth. This was October last year, and I was doing some shows, and I said, "Oh, you like Perth because it's got the beautiful river going through the middle of the city. You can go on boats. We went whale watching and stuff."
Yeah.
And we were walking through Perth, and fuck me, I forgot how much there's like a problem with like meth heads.
Yeah, big time.
Crazy. And my missus, when we got to Adelaide, she goes, "Do you know what I love about Adelaide?" I was like, "What's that?" This is after we've been to Perth. She goes, "It's just nice to walk down the street and not be screamed at." Because people walk past you, "Oh yeah, fucking yeah, fucking." Like, you're like, what are you shouting at, bro? Like, and they'll look at you and stare you out, and it's like terrifying.
Yeah.
It's really mad like that. This is the big.
That's such a low bar to have, though. Like, you just don't want to be screamed at in the street.
Is it the same in Perth, Scotland? Have they got a meth problem?
No, because like,
I think Perth's kind of posh.
yeah, poshish. Like, but,
Is it?
Well,
I think
not
so.
really, but like I think like anyone
nice,
who
by the
stays in these kind of route, like
Perthshire is
But
posh.
you're just thinking cause of Fred Macaulay, probably. Like, but
Maybe.
he, like, I think just in Scotland in general, I think cause it's heroin, it's just a different reaction, isn't it? Like all the junkies are like, you just, you're fucking spaced out. But when they're on meth and Oz, they're fucking wired to the moon. And like I've seen guys like fucking smacking their head off a shutter and spin round in circles, and like you say, just they shouty in the street, and it's fucking wild. It's like they are like these sort of zombies, aren't they?
Yeah.
And it's like just so frightening.
Yeah, I had a bit when I was there saying about how, like, when you go to Perth, you're like, fuck me, the sharks walk here. And then I said, obviously I'm kidding because sharks have teeth, but like, because they're
Very
all
nice.
fucking just these sketchy looking guys, no teeth, going, "I find you," and you can't even understand what they're saying. They're just so fucking. I know. But like, I feel like, because when I was talking about, you were talking about Perth, and like learning about like Scottish towns and stuff, because my mum's side is all from Glasgow, but mum was actually born in, I was saying to Steve, I was born in Dumbarton.
No, right. Oh, just down the road.
Down the road, yeah. So, but every time I say that, everyone who's Scottish is like, oh, mate, fucking hell.
What is it? Dumbarton's a shite hole?
I mean, it's not great, but it's not like.
Do you know what's
it's not
weird?
the worst. I would
You know
say.
what's weird about Dumbarton? It is like, I was driving by the other day and it's like, it's the most scenic looking place ever. And it's like these beautiful hills and all that. And it's just all these
castle thing.
shitey flats. Like, it's just
Yeah.
like, it's like they can't, it's like, no, I mean, it's just like, it's like Clyde Bank or, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, I loved it, but it's just like, it's the most picturesque place, but the
bit with the
it's
river.
a bit like Perth,
Right.
there's a lot of drug addicts.
Well, speaking of which, my mum, no.
So so your mom she was born in Dumbarton,
Yeah,
but then
yeah.
did they kind of like, was she young when she moved to Australia?
Yeah, she moved to Australia. So her family kind of like, so I've got heaps of family like here in Clydebank around the corner and that.
Really?
Yeah. And then I've got still some family there and then Glasgow. But then my mum's family or the immediate family moved to Adelaide. And then
Usually people move to Perth from Scotland, don't they? That's like there's loads
Yeah.
of Scottish
Well,
expats and stuff.
I got a fucking story for you. Fucking hell. So mum moves us, and then I've got another bunch of family as my mum's side. It's all the Kerrs, or the
Right.
Kerr.
I've got family that's care. Maybe,
What?
yeah.
Imagine you're related.
Yeah, we that's crazy. We could
They're
be
from
fucking
like East End of Glasgow. You're like Dumbarton, were you saying?
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
have you got any East End family?
I don't know. Fucking, I should look.
go
Oh, no.
back.
I'll text mum.
You go
We
back
could-
and
Do you have an
find out.
Auntie Margaret?
Fucking, we're related, mate.
Related to the one care.
Hey, that's good. That's all right. That's pretty quick.
I'll allow that. Oh fucking hell! Well, yeah, it's
It's not often that you get a belter in there, Jennings.
Oh, shut up!
I'll give you that.
Because I'm the host, I need to just make sure everything's right and forward. So usually Stuart can sit there and just
Yeah.
like, you know, like.
He would have said that 20 minutes ago. though,
No,
Stuart.
because that's too harsh for Stuart. They've said Stuart's kind of like Haaland, like he only gets about 3 touches of the ball the whole game, but like every one of them,
Everyone's
like,
a goal.
a fucking belter. But the thing is, he can concentrate on doing that because he can just sit back and no participate in the conversation.
He
at all and
watches
just-
the game.
That's it. Keep it,
Picks
and then
his
he
moment.
picks his moment. But I have my moments as well. We all do, Stephen.
Yeah, we
play
all
our
do.
part,
We all do, we
It's
all
a
do.
team sport.
Sorry, you're just saying a
podcast.
domestic now.
I was like, this seems like a very therapeutic.
Tensions are frayed.
You know, sometimes he just lets me say jokes, and other times it's just different when Stuart's not here.
We should say Stuart isn't here, by the way, if
Oh, yeah.
anyone's listening and just, you know, probably.
Why has he got his Australian accent?
No one's going to be thinking, why has Stuart not said anything yet? But
Do you know what we should do? We should edit in at the very last minute just something that Stuart says as if he's been sitting here the whole time.
what a crazy show this is.
Just take a clip from a previous episode,
Fill
put it
the
in the last
audio
minute.
listeners to like the
Or
facts
when you said
video
wanker, we just cut in some audio going, fucking that was funny, Stuart. Pretend he said it.
I can even imagine him doing it. The one cur. I think again in his voice.
Has he got a deep voice?
No, well, a bit.
No.
He's just for 5, so it's harder for us
That's
to
from
do it.
5.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Anyway, back to your
Anyway.
story.
Fucking, yeah. So mum, moved to Australia. And I only found out recently, this is what fucking blew my mind. So all the Scots in Adelaide were quite close at the time.
Sure.
Because they moved over. This is the 60s. And so she grew up with fucking Bon Scott from AC/DC, was at his wedding and everything.
Really?
Yeah. And she was like, oh yeah, we were really good friends. I was at his wedding. And this is about, she had told me this like last year, like a few months back sort of thing. And I was like, I listen to them all the time. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Didn't think to bring
Scotland
this
always
up.
claims them. Australia always claims them. There's always
Yeah.
that kind of like, and I'm like, well, I'm both Scottish and Aussie, so I'm like, fucking, I'm definitely an AC/DC fan. And then, yeah, she told me that. I was like, how the fuck have you waited until I'm in my 30s to fucking tell me that you were mates and at his fucking wedding? That's crazy. But anyway, so mum did, I was going to say that crazy story. My mum did a DNA test like last year or the year before. And, she loves the Scottish heritage and she'd move here in a heartbeat. But I don't think Dad would deal with the snow.
Do you send them a picture of you playing the great? He's like, not for me.
I want real snow. Home Alone snow. Yeah. So she basically she did this test and then finding out this and that, and it got this real close match, and she was like, oh fuck, okay, I've got like it said it could be either like sister or like a first cousin or something. It was like it was trying to work out what this match was. And she's like, all right. So she got in touch with the person, and the person got in touch with her. And she was like, oh yeah, and I was chatting away. And I was a bit skeptical because I was like, Mum, it's probably some fucking weird cunt. Oh, am I last swearing here? Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Fucking weird cunt. So I was like, don't don't do anything stupid. Because when you think of your parents online, you think they're fucking, how do I, when they're doing the fucking Zoom calls or whatever. They're looking at, so I was like, just be careful. Don't give too much details out, whatever. She's like, no, it's okay. And they're chatting away. Turns out, right, that my mum had a sister. It turns out they did DNA tests and stuff. They got more done, and it confirmed it. And they are half sisters. So my granddad was working. So he went and worked in Queensferry on the ships.
Yeah.
And so while he was working there, he obviously was a bit naughty, right?
Right.
And so because this auntie, right, Valerie, she grew up in Edinburgh.
Yeah.
And then moved to Perth. She's still got a Scottish accent and everything. And she moved to Perth. Saying heaps of Scots live in Perth.
Yeah.
Wow.
So she's moved to Perth. Mum's moved to Adelaide. They never knew about each other. They both moved to Australia. And then turns out my granddad. And then so how fucked up is that though? Like she never knew because my granddad's dead. And so my grandma, and all her parents. So they're like.
I think your grand probably didn't know anyway.
This is what I'm saying. I reckon it would have been like. Secret. Yeah, back then, keep it buried.
And did you get any of the story? Because did your granddad know it? Did you get any story from the auntie? Like, does she know anything about?
This is what I'm saying. It's fucked up for her is because she grew up and both her parents. So the reason she did the DNA test was both her parents died only a couple of years ago. So she was like, oh, I want to find out more about my history, look into my family tree, all that sort of stuff. And then she did the test and then found this out. And so she's always thought of her dad as her dad. Turns out that wasn't her biological dad.
All right.
Do you know what I mean? So what a fucking...
So your grandpa is the dad?
Is her dad, yeah. And
But she didn't know. She just thought this other guy was her dad.
And she said, I was like, so did you... I said, if you don't mind me asking, because I went and stayed with her last year. She's lovely. And she goes, I said, look, was it not like... I don't know. Was it not we growing up? Was there any signs that you thought, if you don't mind me asking? She goes, oh, do you know, it was crazy because I was the only one in the family that was blonde. It's like all of her sisters were brunette, dark hair, and then she's like, and mum kind of always my sisters and like that were always telling me that I was the favourite, and so I think maybe her mum felt guilty and sort of loved her up.
You would think it would be the opposite. It's like you would be a prick to them.
And did maybe and both of them didn't know, or did the dad ever know that he wasn't?
They're all dead. So there's no one to check
but
with.
Growing up, she wouldn't have known at all.
No,
and
she didn't know anything. She until she's in her 60s now, and then 2 years ago she did the test. Oh, so I did the test a year ago, and then was like, "Fuck, I've got a relative who's my sister."
That's crazy.
I wonder how many people are born and they get raised by a dad that isn't actually their dad. I bet you it happens.
I think back then, especially
often.
with how full on You think about how strict religion was in the 60s and 50s and 60s and 70s even. Like, it would have been hardcore. Especially, like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, fucking...
No.
I wonder if my granddad knew.
This is what I was saying.
yeah,
like,
yeah.
because he just
Maybe
fucking
he didn't know.
went to the pub in Queensferry, shagged some bud.
Yeah. Probably
Fucked
thought
off
about it. Or if she just carried on and thought, oh, fuck, I've got a blonde...
Yeah, maybe she didn't know. Maybe she thought.
Because he wasn't blonde. Do you know what I mean? So
Right.
he was dark.
Could have been a different guy. Could have been an orgy.
Is this why you've dyed your hair, Tom? Is it just to fit in with your own family?
Trying to fit in. You're my real dad.
That's wild, man. Fucking hell.
They're crazy. And the fact that they both moved to Australia and they were 3 hours apart, do you know what I mean? Like,
And what are the odds of them even doing that test to get? Like,
I know.
You know what I mean?
And all within
Like-
the same... That's like when it first came through and they were like, oh, that's all skeptical. And then it was like, she could be my half-sister. And mum was like, oh my God, freaking out. And me, dad, and my sister were like, come on, like, just don't get worked up. It's probably not, you know, these things can happen. And then it turns out like, oh no, fuck, this has actually happened. It's not some glitch in the system. It's like, oh, your dad was a bit naughty. But like I said, oh, how do you feel about it? Like, are you upset? She goes, nah, I'm not. Because she goes, why am I going to be pissed off at my dad for something he did fucking however many years ago?
Yeah.
Like 60 odd years ago.
Yeah.
She goes, whereas like, you know, she goes, he was always a great dad. I've always loved my dad. And she goes, if anything, I've actually gained a sibling.
Yeah.
She's like, it's a fucking cool thing. So,
So you should go out and cheat. That's what you're saying.
yeah. Spread them out. If you're ever in Queensferry, just fuck.
Just go out and get your hole.
Imagine though, right? Imagine, see if your granddad did know though, right? And he was like, imagine how fucking relieved they would have been. Like, oh, she's pregnant. Oh, she's just going to raise him with that other cunt. All right, fine. Oh, close call.
But I guess back then you wouldn't have social media or anything.
No,
so
I
you could just go on a boat back.
What if he found out and he went, oh, fuck it, we're moving to Adelaide?
Oh, why the fuck he done it? Right, the newspaper says we can go for a $5 if we get a boat or something like that. There's people who done that.
Fuck, that's probably what happened.
Oh, that's really funny.
Fucking origin story. He was just trying to escape and he's fucking failed because she's fucking found out eventually. He couldn't have foreseen the DNA technology that was coming. So there's no way he'll ever be able to trace this.
He's like looking at me right now on this pod just going, you fucking wee little cunt. Some laugh is it.
I didn't know you could actually do that. Do a DNA test, and then if someone else does it, I might actually do one.
I did it.
You should
Did
do
you?
it and see if you're related to each other.
We should.
Yeah. Fuck, do it, bro. Yeah.
Or I could just ask my auntie.
Yeah.
It's an easier way.
It's just like,
Margaret, do you know Thomas?
oh, yeah.
Oh, Thomas.
That would be fucking
His
crazy.
granddad's a mad shag.
Don't know Thomas. Knew his grandpa pretty well.
That's probably how we're related.
Imagine we were half brothers.
Oh, fuck! You find out you're not actually a Buchanan. And he's like, oh, fuck.
Steve's the only guy in his family with grey hair.
No wonder you've fucking lived in Australia, lovely sun all your life. I've been in Scotland. No wonder I've got fucking grey.
This is the difference between planting a tree and the sun versus. Steve could have been 6 foot.
Could have been 6 foot. Fucking cool guy. Just a withered wee weed.
You're the rose that grew from the concrete, Steve.
Thank you. Thank you very
I would
much.
say, and you're very hydrated.
Appreciate that. That's not even true. Like,
Oh, I was going to say because it rains a lot here.
yeah. I thought you meant I've
I
got
thought you
dry
meant because
skin.
of this big massive water bottle he's got there.
Oh, he fucking does, yeah.
Yeah.
Just because he's can't drink
I
caffeine.
need to hydrate more though.
You can't drink caffeine.
No,
How come?
I get chest pains.
You get chest pains.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Really?
Thomas on his fucking third cup.
In half an hour. I need a top up, Mark. So you get chest pains.
Yeah. Like even I used to drink tea all the time, and then one day I just started getting chest pains, and I was like, I can't drink this anymore.
And you know it was definitely from that, or had you done fucking cocaine or something the night before?
I think it was
I
the
think
tea.
it's the tea.
No, it's the tea. Probably the tea. No, it was. I kind of deduced it that it was the tea. Like,
Yeah.
I would stop doing other things and I'd still get them, and then I'd stop doing the tea, and then they went away. So I was like,
Yeah.
stay off the tea.
Fair enough. Do you know, I didn't realise how popular tea was here as well. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Would you think it was an English thing?
yeah, I just, I didn't. And then I was watching a Billy Connolly doc, and he was talking about how much. I didn't say doco because I thought it might sound too Aussie. Yeah, I said doc, and I was like, oh, that felt weird.
What is it with these O's at the end of words and fucking...
Oh.
I remember like first time I went to Perth and it's like, they called the Salvation Army Salvos.
Yeah, salvos.
Everything's salvo.
And then McDonald's, I don't know if you, did you ever see the actual McDonald's sign up out, the big huge ones on the streets when you're driving down a main road and you see one for like a services or whatever, or a big McDonald's?
Yeah.
Ours has Macca's, like, it
Does
doesn't
it
say
actually?
McDonald's. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, the Hungry Jack is Burger King, innit?
Yep.
Aye, that blew my mind when I first went to Australia.
That's the
like
same when I
first
came
thing-
here. I went, Burger King? I thought that was only in America. I thought that was in
No,
America.
Hungry Jack's is only in Australia.
Australia,
That's
yeah.
the thing.
Do you call that like Jackos or whatever?
No, HJ's. Because I didn't really want to call it HJ's. HJ's, Macca's. Yeah, the other thing that really spins people out still is because I always say Arvo. Like, where are we filming the
Good
pod?
afternoon,
Oh, we're
yeah.
filming in the Arvo. People are like, what?
What's that?
People think I say Avo, but I'm saying no, Arvo for afternoon.
Ah, right.
Yeah. So Arvo, afternoon.
Well, another thing you shorten as well that I discovered when I went to Australia, you say Weet-Bix instead of Weetabix.
Yeah, that annoyed me here.
I know there's
I got here and
How many
went,
times
why
do I
is
need
there
after the Weetabix did it take to figure that out?
well,
Wheat Bix makes way more sense because it's wheat and they're Bix.
yeah.
What the fuck is the Wheat Bix.
I don't know, but it just when I seen it at first, it didn't even click, and then I kept saying Weetabix and my
It
set,
sounds Scottish actually,
and
doesn't
people were like, "What the
it?
fuck's
Bix.
But it just feels like you guys are just trying to get to the point straight away, like Weet-Bix. You're just saying it really fast.
Yeah, I thought, Wheat Bix. Yeah.
But it is an Australian product, isn't it?
Is it?
Yeah.
Fuck, we've got a lot of. Do you know we invented Wi-Fi?
What?
Yep. Isn't that fucking mental?
And yet it's still
Aussie
shite in
It's
Australia.
terrible in Australia. I was like, I reckon they invented it. Went right. That's it. Pass it on. Someone will do something with this now because we got no chance.
I mean, the name does sound like an Aussie name. Just Wi-Fi is just like shortened version of what it should probably be.
What is it?
Yeah, it's probably got some
Long form name.
What does it stand for?
Fuck knows.
Wireless
Wireless.
cellular. I don't know what the phi is.
Yeah,
What's the phi?
fuck knows. If it,
Fucking internet.
You just couldn't have named it because it'd have been called fucking Wi-Fi or something like that. If you seen that.
It's wireless internet.
Wi-Fi?
Fucking internet. That's all it is.
Wireless fuck knows. That's how it works.
Yeah, the WFK, that's what we call it, yeah. Yeah, like we shorten heaps of stuff, but I reckon, I was going to say, tea, I didn't realise that was a big thing here, because in Australia it's massive.
Fucking colonialism in India and all that shit.
Yeah.
You know?
That's the thing, because in Australia we've got heaps of different Indian brands as well.
Aye.
But yeah, I was watching this doco, and there we go, I feel better now, I feel better.
Just do it.
Connolly
be
was
your
saying
true
how much he
self.
fucking loves it. He fucking loves it.
Billy Connolly.
Yeah, he loves the tea. And I was like, yeah, righto.
Yeah.
His generation as well, like that. They would have fucking lived off a tea, but especially now he's fucking sober and that.
I guess it's like nowadays it's more we're like a coffee nation.
That's
now,
how
aren't
we
we?
become coffeefied.
That's good. That's Australia's big on coffee. Like I've had people.
You don't have Starbucks there, do you? Is that right?
No.
Really?
Oh, no. There are some places I think that are getting. It's just not very successful. It
Because
started.
these are all coffee snobs, basically.
Yeah. So they tried to do it. It's kind of like how they tried to do Coke here in Scotland, and you were like, "That's not going to sell because of Iron Brew."
Well, no, it
Yeah,
does
alright.
sell, but Iron Brew does outsell it.
Yeah, that's. I mean,
Aye.
like, that's
Yeah.
the one.
Yeah.
So I remember watching a doco when I was teaching, and it was all about like products and stuff, and it was the big fact was like in Scotland, Iron Brew is
Yeah.
the only place in the world that another soft drink outsells Coke. It's the only, I'm like, that's what I love about this country. Because you guys are like, no, we fucking have our own stuff, please.
And there is a patriotism.
And you don't change the fucking recipe.
And you do feel like a sense of pride when you're drinking that. It just feels like, you know, it's good, you know, it's a nice patriotic thing. I think there is somewhere in South America that's got like it's like Argentina or Brazil or something. It's got some mad local fucking pop that outsells fucking Coke there as well, apparently. But I don't know if that's true or not.
There's like mad like small little villages in like Africa and stuff where there's a sign for Coke, and it's like they're just fucking everywhere. It's crazy.
Well, I've often thought, like, because you know how obviously, you know, we've just talked about colonialism, and you know they used to go out and they would try and convert everybody to Christianity and all the rest of it, and fucking African whatever. No, that's just capitalism, innit? If you've got a Macca's and a fucking, you know, a Coke sign anywhere in the world, that's the real conversion, is fucking, you know, capitalism, because fuck all the religious shit now. Yeah. That's really what it is. It's just the money into it. So every fucking corner of the planet has just got a fucking Coca-Cola sign there.
Yeah.
And then
Russia.
You know.
Russia have got
well,
big.
that's
did they not?
They shut
McDonald's?
I think they shut the McDonald's because of
Putin.
Because of Putin and all that stuff. But yeah, that was like a big thing once.
They shut McDonald's. What? There's no Macca's in Russia.
Something like that.
Really?
Like that, maybe.
This might not be true.
They might. I don't know. There was some story.
You said that with like, hey, look, Putin, if you're listening, we don't want to fucking piss you off, mate.
I don't want beef with Putin.
Imagine if like,
Actually, the problem is
he brings it
not
back.
got any beef. That's what I'm talking about. His name McDonald's.
He's like, look, Putin's out and putting next press conference, and they're bringing McDonald's back. They're like, why are you bringing McDonald's back to Russia? He's like, well, to be totally honest with you, there was a man on a podcast, Stephen Kerr. That made me realise I should bring McDonald's back.
It fucking solves the war in Ukraine and all that shit. Great, brilliant. You know, just fucking get it sorted, mate. Do you know what I mean?
Get
your head together.
I don't know if they'd have a Happy Meal.
No, I don't know. I think there's ever been a Happy Meal had in Russia.
Soviet Russia.
You get the Happy Meal, it's just a little red book that comes with it.
Aye, fucking mental, man. But what were we talking about? I can't remember. IT?
Yeah.
You watching a Billy Connolly documentary?
Yeah, because like I'll be totally honest, I fucking like it was because this is what was crazy when I first moved over. Me and my missus, she's from London. First thing we did is we just hired a car and went on a 2-week drive trip. And I said, "Oh, Mum's from Scotland. I fucking want to go to Scotland. I want to go my whole life, sort of thing." So we just drove all the way up to Isle of Skye. We stopped in Glasgow, went to Edinburgh. Nice. Fucking went all through the Highlands. Fucking, you know, unreal. Went all the way up. And then it was unreal. And I remember being like, when I got to Glasgow, I was like, fuck, it was so, this is going to sound really fucking wanky. But like, I remember getting there and being like, I feel like I'm home. It was really weird. Like I felt like a weird connection. I was
what kind of things was it that made you feel like that, do you think?
It was just like, I don't know how to explain, like the
just someone screaming at you in the street.
I didn't have teeth either.
Feels like home. Feels
The
like
sharks walk here too. It's so funny. Do you know what? Actually, there was a guy who actually did yell at me the first night in Glasgow. I'm not making this up, for real. So it was absolutely, you know, when it tips it down, but like for like 20 minutes, it comes from nowhere and it's fucking bucketing down, right? And me and Soph were walking through like George Square and it was fucking pissing it. And this guy, and I'm talking, he looked like a big fucking rugby dude, a big fella. And he's like, "Hey, you too." And I was like, oh, fuck. What's going on here? Like, fucking, what is happening here? He comes running over, fucking, in the rain, fucking running over. I was like, what's going on, mate? He's like, "Yeah, you should have an umbrella for your lassie." And hands me his umbrella in the rain and like, "Keep it," and then runs off. And I went, what a fucking place. What a place. But, it was kind of like, I don't know, it wasn't like, it was when I remember when I first started walking through the city and I was like,
Did you look at that umbrella and go, what the fuck is this? What is this contraption?
To be honest, for the 5 minutes before that's why we were out in the rain, because I was out there going, what the fuck is this shit?
Rain
The
angels.
sky's crying. But yeah, so we're walking through and then I remember just feeling like, I don't know, it was kind of like I felt home in a way and I couldn't really work it out. And then it just felt like this weird connection. And then we drove across to Dumbarton and I was trying to work out I wanted to find out where Mum was from and go to her like street because she was born at home. So I was like, right. And then this is what fucking freaked me out as I messaged Mum and I was like, hey, I'm in Dumbarton. What was the name of the street? I've just pulled over because again, pissing it down again. Yeah. It's Scotland. I shouldn't be surprised. And I'm
that's why they left, actually.
Makes sense.
Your granddad had a lot of reasons to go out.
It's raining. Everyone's pregnant.
The water's not come for the sky. It's somebody's water breaking. It's the whole thing.
He never used an umbrella for his cock.
If only someone called you, oh, you should use a Johnny for that lassie. Here, use mine. You keep it.
Oh fuck, that's too funny. Well, we're on the street and I call Mum and she's like, this is the name of my street. And so I get out in the rain. Use that fella's umbrella. And I'm out there and I walked into the street to see what the name of the street sign was. And I was on the street she was born.
Wow.
Like, what are the fucking odds? Like, I've randomly pulled up in the street in the rain in Dumbarton and gone, what's the street you were born on? And she's like, what? But like, I took a photo and she goes, fuck off, that's my street.
Oh, wow.
But where I was born, she goes, it was on the left there, blah, blah, blah. But that's obviously that bit's new. So the tenements or whatever is gone. So I was like, what the fuck? That's crazy. So that kind of made me like, go like, this is some weird shit going on. And then, but then I was reading, because I've read all of Billy's books and there was a quote of him, that's why I got tattooed on my arm, because he was talking to a guy in London who was Glaswegian, and the guy was saying, he goes, I've not been back for ages. And he goes, but every time I go to Glasgow, he goes, there's such an energy to it. He goes, I can feel it. I can feel Glasgow coming up through the soles of my feet. And I'm reading it and I was like, this is what I felt. Like I went back and I felt like some kind of energy. And then I was looking into it and there's like, apparently some people, it's like a phenomenon where people talk about like ancestral connection to a place.
Yeah.
And you feel like this kind of sense of belonging and being home. And that's what it sounds wanky as shit.
Yeah.
Wanker. Again. Stuart, that was fucking hilarious. Camera pans.
Who stays him in for another episode?
Oh, fuck. But yeah, fucking hell. It was weird, but I just sort of,
I bet that's true. And I do think that there's probably something in our fucking DNA or something that like you go back and it's just, it's almost must be wired in or something like that. And even like with your mum and the sister kind of meeting, like you think there's some mad weird way that somehow like these people are just going to connect, and it's some fucking biological thing that just ends up bringing you together or giving you that feeling you're talking about.
I reckon for sure there's some kind of way. There has to be. I don't know, because like the fact that I was in that, I know it sounds weird, but I was on that street in the fucking rain and it was just her street in Dumbarton. I could have gone any which way into Dumbarton, parked on any fucking road, and it was her street. And it's a very small one too, like it's a very small street. It's right near where you were saying that fucking beautiful bit with the river.
Yeah, near the sort of the Dumbarton
castle.
Rock. No,
Because because she said she's a daughter of the Rock.
Aye.
They say it.
Right.
Actually,
yeah.
the football team call themselves Sons of the Rock.
Oh, is it?
Aye, the Dumbarton FC, and then actually the sons and daughters of the Rock are like people born in Dumbarton. Basically.
They're not in the Prem, though, are they?
No,
No. Oh, no. No.
They've got it's like the best view in any stadium, but the stand is facing
The opposite
way from the Rock. So see if they built the stand the
What?
other side, you'd be watching the game and the Rock. But they probably it was wise because
distracted.
nobody's going to be watching this shite game. This beautiful view.
People are paying to see the Rock.
It's like you turn up and the Rock's there, and then you go in the stadium and you just sit and there's like fucking nothing on
You're
the other
just
side.
watching the Joe carriageway.
Just watching your fucking mum's old house.
And there's a few lassies in the stadium like, I've visited there a few times. Yeah, man. It's just crazy. Like, I feel like, because, with the DNA thing, like, because I've obviously got a lot of Scottish percentage.
Yeah.
And then, because mum's grandma moved to Glasgow during the Irish famine. She was from
Right.
Sligo. So mum has also got Irish in her.
Yeah.
So there was a big chunk. I was like 20, 30% Irish. And then a little bit English from dad's side. But dad's side's weird because then, when mum did the test and I did the test, my dad hadn't done it yet. So my thing hadn't fully
But he
updated.
found any more kids.
Oh, I got a different dad. And then, no. Your face. Martin was like, what?
I mean, talking about burying the lead for fuck's sake. I mentioned that up top, but fucking hell.
But yeah, he so then dad did it. And I found out like so then my because it constantly updates as well. The more people that do it in the world, the more specific they can tell you like what part of Scotland, what part of Ireland. So mine's like Central Ireland, and then it'll say Scotland. Then it'll have like it's down the right on the bottom coast, sort of Devon way for England, and then like Cornwall, and then like and then I'm like. I think it's changing all the time, so I check it every like 3 to 6 months because it will change quite a bit. Right. So like then recently I checked it, and like my Irish percentage went down, and then my Norwegian percentage went up. And I was like,
I can see that by the way.
I was like, what the fuck? Right. There's me out there as a Viking going, stop it. No, stop. But then, they had that. And then it was like Norwegian and Iceland and a small percentage of like the Baltics. Yeah. And I was like, this is crazy. And so then I went and spoke to my mate who's like a history professor. And he's like a proper, like from London, he's a proper posh man, And I said like, oh, hey mate, can you have a look at this? And he looked at it, and because it shows you on the world map all your DNA, and he looks at it, he said, I don't mean to offend in any way. I said, no, go for it, mate. He goes, looking at your map of your DNA, basically, you're a result of invasion. He goes, you're basically... all your points are where the Vikings struck.
Wow.
In fucking Scotland, so Norway coming down to Scotland, that part in Ireland, and then the part, the base of England. He's like, these are all targeted pits. And he goes, so you basically like come from the Vikings, and obviously the Scottish, that's a lot of the history. But I was like, that's fucking mad
crazy.
shit.
Yeah.
It's mad, isn't it?
They've got a lot to answer for those Vikings.
I think my granddad held on to some of their...
You think your granddad's got some questions to answer for fuck's sake?
And fucking Norwegians.
Bloody Scandinavians who've up to all sorts, Make him look like a saint.
You're all gorgeous, are you? Well, guess what? We know about your fucking history, cunt.
I wanted to talk about, I know you've spoke about this on podcasts before, and you mentioned it briefly about the cult.
Oh, yeah.
But you were raised in a cult, is that right?
No.
It's
So
more
like,
an extreme like Christian sort of thing, was it?
I wasn't raised in it. I sort of went to it,
Okay.
which is a bit fucking stupid. In hindsight's a beautiful thing. But like, so I was actually, so my mum's side was all Catholic.
Sure.
And then she met dad, and dad's side was all Protestant. Anyway.
But this was in Australia, they
This is
met?
Australia, yeah. And so I sort of end up growing up in like a Baptist kind of church. It was quite strict, sort of very strict church growing up. very boring, you know, with the hymns and fucking. And
Did they just sort of settle on that as a kind of in between?
yeah,
like-
yeah. They went, "Hey, it's got water." So yeah, it was kind of like, yeah, that was the sort of upbringing I had. Was quite strict in this sort of real churchy sort of vibe, and all my church friends, we all went to the same primary school and that sort of thing. And then when I got into my teenage years, the same sort of thing with my mates at school, all sort of went to the same church, and we all went then to the same high school. Because I was actually gonna, when Mum told me this, again, this is only a couple of weeks. We've been talking heaps about my history the last few weeks, because they're over at the minute to see my son and to, you know, come over for Christmas and that.
Yeah.
And she's like telling me, she goes, "Oh yeah, we nearly sent you to this school in Adelaide, which is called Pulteney Grammar, and that's in the middle of the city, and it's a fucking gorgeous school." And I was like, "Why didn't you send me there? Oh, that would have been a fucking gangster school to go to." She goes, "Oh no, because everyone at church sent their kids half an hour out of, because we live quite close to the city."
Yeah.
And I went way up north. So I went to this school. Anyway, this school was pretty stock standard, and then a church then came along and started being part of the church campus, and a lot of the people who were teachers and stuff and students at that school ended up going to this church. And then when I was about 16, 17, I'm hearing all my mates going to this church, and it sounds fucking fun. Because I was from this really strict family, do you know what I mean? With like the fucking, you know, it's either...
This was your version of peer pressure, basically.
A different church.
All I knew of church was like all my cousins on my mum's side, all the Scottish side, were going to mass, you know, and then on my dad's side, we're fucking going to this really strict Baptist church. So all I knew was like strict religion, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so then I'm seeing my mates going, and like they didn't have to like dress up in their Sunday best. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They were going in
Like
like
kind of cool Christian.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It was cool.
They have a band and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
band. They had band. They had like I remember saying to my mate, I got there and I was like, well, fucking, you know, people are allowed to like wear skirts here. I was like, fuck, I haven't seen a kneecap in years. Like, but like, get there. There's a band up there. It's really cool. And like the church, they called it like spirit led. So they would sort of go with the flow of what the Holy Spirit was telling them to do. So this again, for me, was really fucking cool, because you never knew what you were going to get. Whereas at my other church, they had a fucking itinerary of what was happening to the minute.
Yeah.
Every service, and the service would go for a fucking couple of hours. And as a kid, you're like, fuck. So then I go to this church, and they're like, oh, today we just feel like worshiping and playing music for God. And we just had a 2-hour jam session, everyone singing. And I was like, no sermon, no nothing. Or the next week they'd be like, oh, this person's going to talk today because they feel that they've got a story to share. And the person would come. And it was very flowy and very cool and very inclusive. Like if you were new, oh, fucking lovely, how nice to meet you. Well, they wouldn't swear, but they'd come in like, yeah, fucking come in, cunt, God loves you, cunt. And then, so it was really, really cool. And then I sort of, you know, I felt like, oh, I'm really digging this church. But then stuff started happening, like, you know, they started, people started sort of manifesting in the Holy Spirit, they'd call it, like them sort of fucking
So is it like that thing you see in
Speaking
America
in
and all this,
tongues.
like, the power of Christ is overtaking me.
That is,
kind of stuff.
yeah, like in the videos you see on TikTok and the reels on Instagram and stuff, when people fall over and roll or they go sprinting around the church. So they have people like, and I talk about this in my special, they talk about like they drop on the floor and they roll around. And I remember turning to my mate and being like, what the fuck is this, man? Like, are these people okay? Because I've never seen people roll around convulsing and laughing and all sorts of weird shit. And I was
So
like,
you hadn't
what?
been to Perth by this point?
Hilariously, I hadn't.
Crystal meth has got a lot of the same attributes as the Spirit of Christ compelling you, actually. That's weird, isn't it?
Perth is actually a very religious city. Yeah, so I watched it and he
So
was
they're
like,
rolling about the floor.
yeah, and he
These guys.
goes, oh yeah, that's the don't worry about them, that's the holy rollers. And I was like, what the fuck? Bro, what the fuck? Like, so they had like people who would be manifest or who would manifest or be affected by the Spirit in different ways. So they would all have different sort of reactions or whatever. You know, there was people who would like I saw there was a guy who would howl like a wolf at the back of the church, like if he was, and you always knew and there was other people who would like make big laughing noises, you know, or like shout out or whatever. And now at the time though, at first I was like, whoa, what the fuck? I was 16. I was like, what the fuck is going on? I remember asking some questions, and one of the guys, like a youth pastor and that, he was like, hey, look, it seems quite full on because you just need to open your mind up because it is different. But he goes, don't worry, it's all very like, you know, we are, you know, very much in love with Christ, blah, 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 blah. You know, it's something you're not used to, but it is something that was in the Bible, like the Holy Spirit, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, okay. Good. So basically they put it on you from the start going, you need to sort your own shit out because this is happening and it's fine.
Get on board.
And so you go,
Maybe you're the weird one, actually.
well, this is it. Yeah. And I was kind of like, oh, fuck, maybe I'm not spiritual enough. So I just kept going. And also then once you start to relax with it and you trust the people around, because everyone's lovely.
Yeah.
Like there's no like cunts. You know what I mean? They're all very supportive, lovely community. And that's the other thing is I will say one thing for these religious communities is they are very, they do really look after you, especially when you first come on board, right? But, you know, if you question it, which I started to, because at first I was like, oh, this is actually quite fun. This is way different to the church. So I started going there. That's what I mean. I didn't get raised in it. I chose to go there at 16. I kept going. Mum and Dad were like, he's not going to our church anymore, but he's going to this other church and he's having a good time. They didn't really know what was happening there.
Right.
They just knew that I was with all my friends from school and they thought, oh, that's quite healthy that he's hanging out with his church friends and going to church every week with them. So...
what are these bruises in your arms? Oh, I was rolling about again.
Yeah, they didn't open the door and I fucking hit it. Yeah, no, it was quite intense. And then it was linked to an American church, one of the mega churches over there.
Sure.
And we'd have people come across and preach and tell stories and all kinds of weird, wacky shit.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like when I started to be like, hey, well, this is a bit fucking weird. Like, you know, they had like an American guy come around and rock up with like this giant ruby and like handed it around the church for everyone to look at and said like an angel had visited and it had fallen off his robe. And everyone's like, fucking hell. And I was like, what? I'm looking at it. I'm like, is this even real? But it was fucking massive.
Yeah.
So I was like, if this cunt has fucking bought this to tell a story, he's loaded. And these guys from America were, by the way, because they would do like it was like...
It's like Paul Dano and fucking There Will Be Blood or something by the sounds of it. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah.
Do you know what's crazy is I only saw that again like last year and I remember watching it and his character was so fucking bang on to what I'd experienced.
Really?
Really intense, young guy, very charismatic, cool at the time. Everyone thinks, do you know what I mean? And it was very much like it's infectious because you feel like, yeah, fuck, this is great. Cool, I want to be part of this. But fucking hell.
Fucking hell. So, and how? So you got there at 16 and you were there for a good bit because I know that you'd got married at 21.
So I got married at 21. And
was that basically because you weren't allowed to shag unless you were married? So was it just like a kind of let's just fucking...
Well, do you know what? I feel like part of it would be that, you know, but also it was quite normal to sort of like, I think that year I had myself and my ex, we were one of like 5 other couples of our friends that got married that year.
Was that everybody's in this church?
Not everyone, but
Right.
other churches that are quite similar.
So is it more a just kind of small town thing maybe than a religious thing necessarily or a bit of both?
No, I'd say it's to do with the religious side in Adelaide. Because in Adelaide, the 2 things that people ask you are either what school did you go to? Because you always know someone from their school.
You
or
get
vice
that
versa.
question in Glasgow for different reasons.
Oh yeah.
If it's got a saint at the front of it, right, we know which team this cunt supports.
Where do you put your toaster?
Would it be your toaster?
I've heard that. That's
What's that all about?
Is that an Irish thing?
That's an Irish thing, yeah.
that
With the depending, you either leave it out or you put it away.
Does it?
Yeah.
You can tell with the
Is it?
Northern Irish because if they pronounce the H or they say H.
Yes, yeah.
H is the Catholics.
H is
If they go the NHS and that's their Catholic.
Oh, really?
It's NHS is Protestant.
But what's the toaster thing? Because is that if you leave it out your...
I can't remember which way around, but if you leave one out, because
That's weird.
Soph's family, like my missus, they're all Irish that moved to London, and so like I remember like hearing that, and then speaking to mates from Northern Ireland, and that's a thing there, like where you put your, where do you put your toaster? It's like I don't know, fucking. Sometimes I leave it out, sometimes away.
I don't really follow toasters, mate. It's not my thing. Do you know what I mean?
Mine, to be honest with you, I'm very like I came from a Pentecostal church, so mine fucking floats. All right, so, it's led by the Spirit. I walk in, my toaster's rolling on the floor.
Yeah,
Like, not the breadcrumbs again.
I prefer a roll over toast. What like a roll guy. But anyway, so they ask you, so either what school did you go to? And that tells you a lot about someone.
No, it's more it's so different to here. So it's more about just if you knew them. It's like when you add someone on Facebook and you go, oh, who are our mutual friends?
Yeah.
It was like that sort of thing. The other thing in Adelaide, in the church side, is like, oh, what church do you go to? Mm-hmm. So they would be like, oh, especially in that kind of, it's that kind of, what if you want to say, like new agey kind of Pentecostal church, not in like a Catholic church or a standard Protestant church, like one of those Pentecostal ones. They're all sort of linked in some way. And yeah, so I remember so my sister did the same thing, but she went to like the sister church on the south of the city. So the one I went to was in the north of the city, and she went to and she got married young and all that. But everyone, like our churches would join up and meet up and do joint events and stuff. We were sort of like the north and south version of each other, if you know what I mean.
Right.
And yeah, it was kind of like got to a point where I was like, these Americans would come over and preach this weird shit. And I started questioning stuff. And I was like, I don't think I believe in any of this. I question it. And they do the guilt trip, like, what do you, like, you need to think about this more and talk to God about it because, you're leading your wife astray. They told me that I was being a bad husband because apparently I was the head of the house because, it can be very misogynistic in these kind of churches. So
and was she kind of stopping believing in it as well, or was she quite...
No, and like because she was, she's such a good person, and she was like, she was very much involved because her heart was always into serving people. Like she'd always help people. She's one of those. She was one of those people who, like, just a good-hearted person. Do you know what I mean? And so she was involved in the church in terms of like working in the cafe there after the service and helping out.
It's like a community thing.
Yeah, totally. And so she was. And I didn't always like tell her about to be totally honest, I didn't tell her about my doubts because I felt heaps guilty because I was like, oh fuck, it's with me. I have got an issue that I'm doubting this. And I remember my mate having doubts and I was like trying to help him out with how to like work through them, but like as though I didn't have any of my own. Do you know what I mean? Because I was so scared of fucking not being in and not being spiritual enough and affecting
like
her.
Shunned for the community and stuff.
Yeah, it was fucking it. And to be honest, like when I left and everything, I went and got therapy.
Yeah.
And I remember like just talking to the therapist about it, and I was so nonchalant with things, and she was like, hold on. That's affecting you. Like these things have affected you for years, and because I was in there for about a decade.
Wow.
And she's like, over 10 years you've been influenced by this, that, and the other. It is very inclusive, and they are good people, but there are so many elements of it that are very controlling,
How long did it take you between starting to get these doubts to actually leaving? It must have been years.
Years, absolutely. Like I remember having doubts when I first went and saw, like, because they tried to they tried to perform an exorcism on me.
Really?
Fucking yeah.
Hang on, like your therapist when you
I should be lying down over there.
Just lie down on the couch and but because I've heard you talk about this and saying that people used to pray over you as well.
Yes,
because you had doubts.
Yes,
no, but they would just do that generally. Would they?
They tried to deliver me from a porn demon.
Porn demon.
A porn
Steve
demon.
had one of those in his laptop one time. You just need to keep minimising the
It goes away. It goes away eventually. Just
Just take your fucking McAfee security or whatever. Porn demon.
Porn demon.
what do
mate.
you mean a porn? So did you tell them that you liked watching porn or something?
Yeah, I said that I'd watch porn, and then
They thought you
They
were
were
possessed
praying
by
for
a porn demon.
yeah, they said like it's like they said that like they described it as like your soul having like battlement, and like you've let like a demon in. He's set up camp inside your soul, right? And then they sort of that camp grows, and you're letting more in with like each time you watch porn or whatever. So saying I had like a lust porn demon in me. And I was like, fucking hell, I can't. Like, look at my history, bro. I'm a fucking wanker. Like, it's come back again.
Just like my granddad.
No, he didn't wank. He just didn't pull out. But no, so I just, I was kind of like, at the time I felt fucking awful that I was, I felt horrible that I was watching porn or whatever, because they were like, you've got this addiction. Oh, this is what they're telling me for having ever watched it. It's an addiction.
How did they find that? Did you tell them voluntarily?
Yeah, I'm a pretty honest person. Hey, I'm like, I've had a jizz over some laptop.
What? So how did they? How did the exorcism work? How did they try and get this demon out of you?
So they lied me down on the floor.
I don't think I've ever asked that in the podcast.
It was really weird. They had to wank it out of me, and then You're like, what? No, they had me
They put a blindfold on. I had to suck out the demon from someone else. Or something.
What the fuck? Can you imagine that they would just suck out the demon? Oh man. Yeah, they basically laid me down on the floor, and there was about I'm gonna say, because there's one lady that was like sort of running the exorcism, if you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. She's like praying. So they don't call it like an exorcism. They're like praying over you, and you're down on the floor, and she was praying over me.
What are you doing at this point?
Fucking lying there, bro.
Just with your eyes closed, or
Yeah, eyes closed.
on your back, eyes closed.
Yeah, because this is the other thing. Is I really wanted to be a part of it, and this is like a bit of a guilty admission, but not a guilty admission. No, because speaking in tongues was a massive, massive part of this church, where they would
if
like.
you could do that, then you were like,
Yeah, and I sort of really wanted to be a part of that, and
did you ever pretend?
yeah, so this is the thing, is that kind of what I realized, and then after the therapy and looking into stuff since and reading up on it, because the mind is a fucking amazing thing, and you can really convince yourself and your physiological body, you can make you physically do stuff. You know what I mean? Like, so,
Yeah.
when someone sort of says to you, fuck, I got an itchy back, and then you think you've now got an itchy back and you fucking feel it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So when they say the presence of the spirit is here, you go, oh, fuck. If you sort of open yourself up to it, you go, oh, fuck, maybe he is here. And you get really convinced, and you sort of really trick yourself into thinking that it's happening. Obviously, it's fucking not. So I sort of let go and was sort of just like trying to like speak in tongues or whatever and let go.
What is tongues for people?
It's just literally like they're like
Talking shit.
You're just talking gibberish. That's it.
It's as if
You're not saying anything.
Is that like the Lord is talking
It's
through
meant
you
to be the voice of angels, and it's meant to be that you, because people would pray over you speaking in tongues. It was a massive thing, and you'd be like, I don't know what they're saying. They're like, it doesn't matter because the angels know what I'm saying. I'm like, do you know what you're saying? They're like, no, it's the spirit coming through me. I don't know what I'm saying, but it's a connection. Do you know what I'm saying? It's it's because they would say to me quite often, the tagline was, you're thinking with a natural mindset, not a supernatural mindset. You're not operating at a supernatural level, whereas God always does and angels always do. So you're not operating. So they're operating through you and you don't fully comprehend what's happening. Just let them work through you, sort of thing. So I was sort of like lying there on the floor and I was like just sort of trying tongues and stuff. And for a time at the church.
Do any of them know, like, he's talking shit? He's not actually doing that. Or
No,
did they
because
believe it?
people were convinced that this was a thing. They were so sure that this is what God was doing. And I remember at the time believing it. I wasn't trying to pretend. I was trying to let go and be a part of it. And that was one of the questions I had when I left the church was like, okay, well, what was the speaking in tongues stuff then? And it was me tricking my body, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That this was happening when it fucking wasn't. So that's what I mean. Like, I wasn't trying to be fake. I was trying to be a part of something.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean?
It's like in a placebo effect almost, but like just into like, you know, because belief is a powerful thing, and if you believe this stuff that they're telling you, you can, you know, that can really, you know,
100%.
manifest in you just having that experience and, you know, like doing those things basically.
And if good people around, they're good people that I trusted, and I would never say that they're not good people. A lot of, well, there's obviously some dodgy shit that goes on in terms of leadership and stuff, but they were good-hearted people for the most part, and they believed this stuff. And I was kind of like, okay, well, I don't want to be the outlier here.
Yeah.
There's something wrong with me. I'm not thinking supernaturally enough. So you sort of open yourself up, you know?
Absolutely.
So I'm lying on the floor and they're praying over me, and she's praying for the release of this porn demon. She's praying for, at one point she's like, it was quite full on. She goes, guys, and there's other people about my age, like my friends are sort of hands on me trying to pray with her, and they're all sort of like, yes, Lord, all this sort of stuff, like crying out, talking in gibberish, like all tongues or whatever. All this is, it's fucking full on.
Sounds a bit like a hot porno, to be honest. It's like, I'm going to have a great wank to this when I go home. Yes, Lord, yes, Lord.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yes. She then at one point goes, guys, I feel like we need to pray over suicidal thoughts, and everyone's like, oh, and they're like praying over me, and I was like, I'm gonna be totally honest, like suicide is a fucking big deal, and there are people who struggle with it. I've got friends who have, family who have. I haven't. Just personally, I haven't struggled with that. So when she said that, I was like, don't fucking put that on me. I don't have fucking suicidal thoughts. So she was just saying shit, and everyone was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, I remember my friends being like, are you okay? Like, you know,
struggling.
I was like, I'm fine, bro. I've just had a few wanks at home. Like,
If anything, that's made me feel better. It's the only thing keeping me going.
and now you've taken that away from me. But it was weird. Like I didn't, you know, they sort of have that where they pray over you. There's other sort of things where they'd like create a ring of fire where people would, like at the end of a wedding when they put your hands up and you run through.
Yeah,
And
I'm
so
not singing
there's-
Loch Lomond during this. What
was that?
That's the thing that we do at the end of Scottish weddings. They sing that song, I'll take the high road and you take the low road.
Oh, right. Yeah.
you go in
We-
that circle.
Yeah, we fucking did that. No.
So ring of
They had,
fire,
like-
so...
yeah, they put your hands together at the top and you'd run through
Right.
the spiritual fire, ring of fire, they call it. Yeah, people would, you know, sort of run through and be hit by the spirit or whatever, and
Right.
it'd be topping them up with. That's the thing. You'd go to the service to be topped up, but you wouldn't just go once a week. You know, they had 2 services on a Sunday, and then they had like prayer meetings on a Wednesday where you'd go and you'd pray for something. Again, that was it's a good thing. You'd go on a Wednesday with the mindset of like, oh, I've got a mate who is struggling with this. I'm going to pray for him. That was the sort of thing. You know what I mean?
But then they were also asking you for money or something like that as well, or they would take some of your wages.
That's what I'm saying is like you would give 10% of your income, which actually is in the Bible, and a lot of people do tithing who aren't in these kind of churches.
Right.
They tithe, they give 10% a week. We did it at the Baptist church.
Right.
They'd give 10%. But I found out from ex that the pastor was asking a group of us in our 20s to give an extra 5% that went to him.
Right.
And I was like, and me and my ex were both full-time teachers.
Right.
You know, so if you think about that, it's 5% teacher's income. That's 10% of a teacher's wage going to this guy every fortnight. And then there's other people he's asked this of. And I was like, I don't feel comfortable with this. And he's like, no, it's biblical. I'm like, it's fucking not.
No.
There's nothing in the Bible that's like, yeah, give 5% to your fucking...
And isn't that interesting? Because you're so fine with that 10% thing, and it's just that wee bit extra that they're trying to slide off the top, and that's enough for you to start going, right, hang on a second.
Yeah, because if it's in the Bible and you're religious, you go, yeah, it's in the Bible. Cool, okay. There's some parts that people take out and abide by, some parts that people are like, no, that's fucking weird. And the 10%, I was like, I'd grown up and that sort of wasn't even a thing. And you sort of you felt like you were investing in your community as well. Do you know what I mean? Because you're a part of it. But the extra 5%, I was like, come on, bro.
Yeah, it's like when you're in a restaurant and you get the bill and there's like a discretionary 10% added on and you're like, that's fine. But some cunts are starting to
12.5.
like 12.5. Like, fuck this. That's it. Just take the lot off.
Yeah. And they call it generous giving as well. They put the thing around so you'd put in how much you were putting in that week or whatever. And because some people do cash or whatever, or they started doing, you could donate with tapping.
Really?
Yeah.
So what happened then? How did it all come to a head when you decided to leave, and how did you go about it, and what happened when you did?
I basically, so me and Mrs. Broke up. Things didn't end well there. I had built up, and I talked about this in 2021. I went back to Adelaide and I talked about it in my show. I did a show called Cultivated. And I talked, it was fucking therapeutic and cathartic to do it in Adelaide, but also a bit fucking scary. You know, go back to Adelaide and talk about this shit.
Do you still have friends that are involved in it and stuff?
Yeah, do you know what? It's crazy. I have some friends that had also left too. And they came to the show and they loved it. But because it was the thing is like, I don't have anything against the people, like, you know, I think the leadership is definitely fucking questionable. Yeah. Absolutely. Because they were very controlling, very invasive. But I think the people are good people. They mean well, you know. But then the people who left, my mates and stuff, I still chat to and that when I go over and we always catch up for a pint or whatever. It's just like, fucking...
Remember that?
Crazy, yeah. Fucking yeah, you still watching porn or not?
How's that demon?
No, it's... so I feel like when I went back to Adelaide and I talked about it, it was really therapeutic, but it's also really difficult because when I went through therapy, because I went there because I had ended the marriage not well. Like I had fucked up and not quite as bad as my granddad. I didn't have kids with some other family.
As far as you know, I suppose.
But I remember going to therapy and being like, I know I'm not a bad person. Like, why did I sort of fuck up there? Like with someone else? And they were like, look, you for so long had built up this fucking, like, you were just a coil. And you were just waiting to fucking explode, basically. You were like, I can't be here anymore. And so I kind of was in self-sabotage and was trying to give a reason for the marriage to end and therefore get out of the church and everything. And it was never actually anything against my ex. She's a lovely person. And I'll never say a bad word about her because she's just a good person, you know. I remember I actually said in the show, I said, I don't believe in God, but if he was real, I think he'd be like her because she was so loving and caring through the whole experience. She never lashed out and she had every right to fucking hate me. But she didn't. I remember one day just being like, I was packing my bags and she was like, came into the room and she was like, are you okay? And I was like, fuck, man. Like that's a fucking strong woman to come in and go, are you all right? I'm like, I was just like, I'm okay. Yeah. Are you, you know, so, but I always remember that moment and that will stick with me. But when I left and we broke up, I just stopped going to the church. That was it. It just was like ripping off the band. I just didn't go back.
And so you had no repercussions like with them trying to get in touch with you or?
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah. So at the time, so I was teaching at the school that was. I then went back to the school I went to. This is how ancestral is. I then went. I went back to teach there, and then while I was teaching there, you know, it was all. It was pretty fucking cool back there. To be honest, it was a good school.
Yeah.
But because I'd left the church, there were other teachers there, and they didn't like that. And I remember when stuff had happened with my ex, the youth pastor or whatever, one of the pastors, he rang me up while I was at school from the church. He rings me up and goes, "You've failed your marriage, and you need to tell you're at a Christian school, so you need to tell your boss. Otherwise, I'm going to ring them and tell them."
Fuck's sake.
And then they told me, like, if you continue on with this extramarital stuff, we have right to fire you.
Wow.
Because it's not with the ethos of us. I'm like, I'm still a great teacher though. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So anyway, that was fucking intense. And then I found out that when because I was also doing radio at the time. I used to have a drive radio show in Adelaide, and I'd done that for years. And someone from the church, I'll never know who, but someone from the church rang up the radio station and was like, "Yeah, one of your presenters has done this, blah, 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 with someone else." And they were trying
Basically
to get me.
because you've got with someone else after you've left a marriage, basically. Is that the idea?
Well, that was so that's why the marriage broke down.
Right, I see.
Right.
And so they were like trying to, they were trying to sabotage my other areas in my life because they were angry at me. Whereas that's what I mean. So my ex was so loving and caring, and she didn't do anything like that. But friends in the church got angry on her behalf and were trying to sabotage my teaching career and my my radio career. And then they also hunted down, I don't know how they did this, but they found out who the girl was and called her dad
Fuck's sake.
to try and like fuck up something there. And it was mad. So that was pretty fucking intense. And I was just like, I can't be around this. And then anyway, I had taken some leave from teaching to go and perform at the Melbourne Comedy Festival. And I went to Melbourne Comedy Festival. So this is a couple of months after the marriage and stuff and ended, and went there. And that's when at the Melbourne Comedy Festival was actually when I met Soph, my now fiance and mother of my child.
Yeah.
So I met her there, and I was like, she was my angel, man. Like, I thought that, you know, I felt so low about myself to go from all that to then, you know, having someone be like, I told her everything, and she was like, "I'm not going to judge you on who you were before me." She's like, "I'm only going to judge you on like who you are with me." And she goes, "Don't fuck up." And I was like, "Fair enough." So then that happened, and then we started dating, and then I'd already been thinking about potentially moving away from Adelaide. Like I said,
fucking wonder.
And then she'd moved back to the UK. And then my best mate from uni lived just outside London. And then I moved in with him, and it actually ended up being 10 minutes away from her. So we kept dating over in the UK. And then, you know here we are 8 years later, and we've got a baby boy, and happy as Larry. But it's just, that whole time was fucking insane.
Yeah, sounds that. And that's so interesting to me because you're saying about going to Melbourne and doing comedy. So were you still doing comedy? Did you start doing comedy when you were in the church?
Yeah, and one of them told me I wasn't allowed to.
What the fuck?
Really?
Yeah, this is what I mean by the controlling thing. One of them said, "You shouldn't be doing stand-up," because he said someone had seen me and I'd said "dickhead," and he goes, "You shouldn't be swearing. You should be. You can only perform stand-up comedy if you can perform your comedy to 5-year-old children." And I was like, "Well, that's a fucking weird thing to do." And I was like, "I don't want to do kids' parties for a start." / those cunts aren't paying. But no, so basically, like, they told me I wasn't allowed to stand up, but I was very much an open spot in Adelaide.
Aye.
And I think I've talked about this before, maybe with you guys, but Adelaide's scene throughout the years, as I was saying, it's quite quiet.
Yeah.
And there's not, it's growing
You get
now.
the Rhino rooms and all that there.
Rhino
now,
room,
and-
yeah. But it's growing now. Like, there's more stuff happening and more rooms opening up in Adelaide. But at the time it was quite in terms of there was a lot of comics trying to get spots, and you get a spot every couple of months for 5 minutes, and I was like, I want to gig more. So what I did is I actually put a show into the Adelaide Fringe for an hour, and that was just how I started doing stand-up. Was to just have more stage time on my own admission, going, hey, I'm doing a show, come and see me. And because of radio, people would come, and I sort of built up my stand-up from just being on stage. And then when I first moved to the UK, I was like, yeah, I've done the Adelaide Fringe before, and I've been to Melbourne and done some shows there, fuck yeah. And I got here and it was like, oh no, you're new as fuck. Like it was because the standard here is just fucking crazy, you know, and it's so competitive. And so I realized pretty quickly that I had to fucking up my A game if I wanted to be a comedian.
It always amazes me when people do like an hour is that's how they start out.
Some people just do that in Edinburgh and stuff like that. They'll just do.
it's-
Marilyn Robertson, like I remember meeting Marilyn and she'd like not really been on the circuit. She was on before me in my room, and she'd basically done gigs in Shetland, a couple maybe when she was at uni, and then just like a run at the Edinburgh Festival
And
like,
crushed it.
and then she just but just it's a way to get
What
stage time,
people
like
do.
you're saying. But this, you need to go.
Yeah, it's 1:15. I've got a meeting at 2.
You can mean the two. Wait, is it on?
It's in
Shetland?
West. I fucked it. I fucked it big time.
Just take the Holy
I've
Spirit.
got a couple more questions for Thomas. If you want to shoot off.
Is that all right?
Aye, that's fine. Right.
really
this
sorry.
is a first of the podcast. I'm now the only host here, but that's fine.
really
If you need to shoot off,
I know
then
what's
fine.
happening.
Tell you about
No,
it.
we need to start with Billy.
Steve-
We've just actually we've just had a good chat here. So
No, it's been.
Do you want to stay and chat for a bit?
Yeah, I don't
Thomas?
mind.
If
Yeah,
that's
of course.
all right,
I think what's actually happening. You're going to go see your auntie and ask if we're related. That's what's happening. It's like, I've got a meeting
some
with
questions,
my
yeah.
auntie. I've got to know about my care or not.
And I've got a porn demon inside my
You get that fucking image of the exorcism in your head.
I can't leave on that note. But no, thank you so much. Thomas. That
thanks
was
for having me, man.
great chat. I wish I could stick around. I'm really sorry about that.
We realised I hadn't
Sorry.
seen each other since 2019.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking.
Isn't that crazy?
4 years.
4 years since I've seen Steve-O. I was like, what the fuck?
I think you just put a wee O at the end of that.
Blue cano.
Anyway, right, Steve is away now.
yeah.
It was just me and you, one on one.
I'm just waiting for Stuart to rock up.
Yeah, that's it. So am I, to be fair. It's maybe 3 years ago. No, we knew it wasn't coming. No, I was just curious. There's a few things as well, like, because obviously, given what you described and that sort of stuff, like, I'm interested. How did you end up getting into stand up? Anyway, like if you're in this church and that sort of stuff, and how did you end up doing a radio show as well? How did that all come about?
So I always wanted to like perform, and like when I was like 8 years old, and it's really crazy because like one of my comedy heroes I found out from watching clips online that they had a very similar story. But
Who is that?
Jim Carrey growing up.
Really?
Yeah, I loved his animated face and stuff. You know,
and he had a kind of like a religious upbringing, did he?
No. The story was no, sorry, that would have been confusing. You're like, what the fuck? No, what it was is that when I was in year 3, I was 8 years old, and my teacher said to me, "Hey, listen, if you don't talk during lessons, I'll give you 15 minutes on a Friday afternoon to do whatever you like." Wow! And so I used to write these little sketches, and as like an 8-year-old, and I'd get a couple of my mates and we'd practice it at break time or lunchtime.
Brilliant.
And I'd do these little comedy sketches, or we loved Cool Runnings, so we'd like reenact scenes from Cool Runnings and then like
just do
add
the
our own little
accents?
flair on it.
It was Australia after all. I can't imagine a lot of people
Back to
calling you.
Adelaide in the 90s. Yeah. We did like Cool Runnings, we did like The Lion King, but we do like our own like ending to like, we'd start off as the character or whatever. And then I'd write these other little bits. I was only 8, so it was just like a 2-minute sketch or whatever. I'd do a couple of them, but I got 15 minutes to sort of, I wasn't up there doing crowd work like, oh, so what do you do? But like, yeah, so basically I got to do that every Friday.
I don't come to your class and knock the cocks out your mouth.
Oh man, yeah. What car does your dad drive? Like, yeah. All the cool stuff as a kid, you know. Fucking hell. Yeah, I loved it, man. And so I was always like, I remember at the time making people laugh and being like, oh fuck, I love this feeling.
Did you ever get a gig cancelled because you couldn't stop talking in class?
Yes, it was. No, I got in trouble when I started trying to ask for money at the end in a bucket.
Firing people in the playground before it. Right? Remember, come along Friday, 2:45.
Yeah, I get him to come along. Fucking hell. Yeah, like, we're already in that classroom, cunt. Why are you fucking flying me? Go into the staff room. They're like, no, we've got classes we need to look after. But yeah, no, I'm
hopefully I can get in the assembly hall.
Try for next year.
That's like the arena.
No, I'm hoping next year I can do it out in the field. You know, that's the one I want. Yeah.
Stadium. The football pitch.
It's just oh fuck, that's too funny. Yeah, that's the thing. I think I just got a real feeling for like loving making people laugh, and I just loved it. And I remember saying to my friend, like, I want to be a comedian one day. That's what I said to him, and they were like, yeah, I think you should be. And then that was when you were a kid, and then I sort of had always had that in the back of my head, and I always watched comedies growing up, and I always loved comedy. I loved Jim Carrey, you know, and obviously I knew about Billy Connolly and everything, but I wasn't always allowed to watch him because of the swearing.
Sure.
I was very strict, you know, upbringing. But, you know, I watched Billy and then obviously, you know, like Eddie Izzard, and I watched Monty Python, and I watched Fawlty Towers, and I watched all these comedies growing up. And then I got into like teaching at uni, and I became a teacher. And then I remember, like, while I was studying, like I was like 21, and I went, do you know, I wouldn't mind doing stand up. I fucking should just do it. And I heard about this open mic competition. It's a nationwide one in Australia called the Raw Comedy Competition. And I'm like, fuck, I'm just going to do it. And the winner of that gets to be the Australian rep in So You Think You're Funny in Edinburgh.
Right.
So they get flown out, they get to be part of the competition, they get to do the festival and all that sort of thing. So it's a pretty big deal. And the final is televised on Australian TV.
Wow.
Nationally televised. So I was like, fuck, okay. And so I went along as a 21-year-old, and I just tried some stuff, never done stand-up. And I made I got the wild card into the semis and then didn't get through. And then the next year I was like, I'm going to go back and do it again. And then I wrote a set, and then I had that 5, and I made the final, and I was like interviewed on the radio, like, oh, you know, your favorite. I didn't get through to the final in the end. It was a bit of politics involved, but yeah. But I sort of, at the time I was young, and I was like, oh, you know, you think a competition's the be all and end all.
Yeah. Career's over at 21.
Yeah. I was like, oh, fuck, no one believes in me. No. But no, I sort of, again, with the Adelaide thing, like, you get 5 minutes here and there. And because it was so sporadic, it sort of didn't really, I sort of just cracked on with my uni, and uni ramped up with the teaching stuff. Yeah. So cracked on with that. And then...
See, by the way, when you were at uni, were you still going to this church all the time? Or did you go to uni in Adelaide or something?
I was married in the church while I was at uni. Yeah, the uni was in Adelaide. It wasn't like...
Right.
Wasn't
so
like
you didn't move away.
Nah. You just go to you know, unless you get into like a uni that specifically does something in Melbourne or Sydney, you're in Adelaide. And they've got some big unis in Adelaide. Yeah. So, I just cracked on with the teaching. And then to the back end of the teaching degree, I was like, I had that itch again. I was like, I want to do stand-up again. So I just started doing spots again, and I was like, oh, I really like this. So that's when I went, fuck it. I'm not getting hardly any stage time. I know that I'm not going to get better unless I fucking have more stage time. So that's when in 2012, I just booked myself in for the Adelaide Fringe, just fucking did it, had a great time, and I did just a week run in a 60-seater. Ended up selling out the back end of that week, and it was fucking great. I was like, oh, fuck, this is cool. I'm loving this. And then the next year went back to the same thing again. I was nominated for like best newcomer.
Oh, brilliant.
And that's when I was like, oh, fuck, yeah, bro, I'm crushing this.
Yeah.
So I'm going to move to and then when I moved to the UK, I actually didn't do stand-up for like the best part of a year because I was just getting over here, setting up with teaching stuff and doing supply teaching. And Soph actually turned to me and goes, you came here to pursue a dream and you've not even fucking done any comedy yet. What are you doing? And it was such a, like, she's so good like that. She's like my own little like manager at home, you know?
Yeah.
And she was just like, gave me the kick up the arse I needed. And that's when I started doing gigs over here.
Right.
And then I didn't actually do my first gig in Glasgow for a while.
Aye.
And I was like, fuck, I need to do it. And I came up in like, I think 2018, did a couple gigs up here. But yeah, I sort of, when I was starting out in Adelaide, it was very much like 5 minutes here, 3 months later, 5 minutes here, you know?
But you said when you done that solo show, by then you were hosting a radio show. How did you end up hosting a radio show?
So the radio I got into around the same time I was 21 because this is the thing is like I knew teaching was like the safe option. Do you know what I mean? But I knew I wanted to do performance and I wanted to act and I also auditioned for NIDA, which is the big acting school in Australia where like Mel Gibson and Kate Blanchett and Jeffrey Rush and stuff all went. I was like, fuck, I want to go there and I auditioned.
Did you look at Mel Gibson thinking, you know, maybe I could, if they recast Braveheart, maybe they'll get another Aussie, but at least you've got some Scottish connections that are legit.
Oh, I think I could do a better accent as well. But yeah, I was kind of just like, do you know what? I kind of like, and radio was kind of like a bit different.
Yeah.
You know, still kind of an away performance in some way.
Yeah.
So I sort of just went and it was like a community radio station, but it was like a bigger one. And they like train you up. And so at one point I thought I was going to end up, because a lot of Aussie comics have a radio show.
And I've noticed that actually.
Yeah,
Aye.
it's because it's lucrative as fuck. And so they'll do the festivals for 4 or 5 months a year, but they'll then be on the radio, on breakfast radio, making a fucking stack. So I sort of thought, you know, I'm going to keep going radio. And I did do it for nearly a decade and I loved it. But I sort of, when I moved here, that's the thing, I was doing it still all through the church and everything. But that was still pretty innocent. But for them, the stand-up wasn't.
Yeah.
Because stand-up, you talk about shit and you know, can delve into stuff. You know what I mean? Whereas radio was very like...
But see, even like off air and stuff, like, see when you just be your other radio, does it ever come up, like, you know, the kind of church you're going to and all these type of things, like, or did you get any exposure to people because they're outside of that? And did they give you any sort of context of like how maybe weird it was, like what you were doing?
Because at uni, none of my friends were religious.
Yeah. And
that was a bit of an eye-opener for me, was like, oh, like my life is different to everyone else's. You know, and especially because I was married at 21, like no one else was at uni. And then also like, the radio stuff off air, but I didn't really ever delve into what happens at the church. They just knew I was religious.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? They're like, oh, he's a churchy. That was all it was. And they didn't really condemn me for anything. No. But it was interesting because my best mate says, well, I played American football and I was really serious about that for a bit. And my mates there, like, that was where I realized, I was like, oh, these people, I feel the most comfortable with these people and they're really loving, good friends and they're not part of a church. And that for me was the big eye opener, was like, oh, like, I'd always thought that it was the church community where it was like really looking after me and everything. But I was like, no, I've got friends at uni who look after me and are good friends and are great mates, and then, you know, American football and that's the thing. I was like, oh, I think like, you know, everyone loves a sense of community. And for me at the time, mine was being a part of that one. And then I realized I could still be in a community without being in a fucking weird one.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So that was for me like a massive eye opener. And also like the freedom to express myself, freedom to express myself in art with doing stand-up.
Yeah.
Because obviously radio is quite regimented. everything's pre-planned. You make it look like it's fucking not.
Yeah.
Obviously, stand-up is also, a lot of it's written, but
Yeah,
that's
but-
like...
There's no, you can do whatever you want, really.
Yeah, you're not really constricted in what you can talk about.
No.
And especially on the night, if you're running and with the flow, you know, and you're doing improv or whatever in your set, you know, I just felt like it was, because acting, I thought I wanted to be an actor. I was like, that's what I'm going to do. And that seemed like the path. And then I realized, oh no, I'm a comedian. Like, this is what I've always wanted to do. And it was kind of like I tapped into that. I was like, fuck. This is where I feel the most at home. It sounds so wanky
No,
and
no,
cliche.
not at all, man.
I felt the most at home on stage
Sure.
and in a green room with other comics, because like they're your people.
Yeah.
They are, you know what I mean? Like, you know, when you're chatting like now, like, and you
Exactly, aye.
you just like, oh yeah, fucking, I get that and I feel that and I know what you mean, and and you just sort of their perspective and their views. It's so different. You see the world differently, and to connect with other artists who see the world differently. It's such a powerful thing, I think, and you feed off it. So, yeah, I kind of, when I first moved here, I sort of don't know why, but I think I was a bit like intimidated
Sure.
because I'd already done I'd never been to the UK before, and I just fucking booked tickets to London and just did it.
Wow.
Left all that church stuff, came here. So I think I was still sort of finding my feet as an adult.
Absolutely, man.
Going, fuck, I need a sort of, all right, let's sort out the income here.
Mm-hmm.
Let's find a place. Then my mate had to go back to Australia because his visa run out. So then I was like, then me and Soph moved in together in Nottingham, and I was there in Notts for 4 years. And, you know, it was kind of, and then that's where I sort of built up my comedy over those, at that time, mainly in Nottingham.
Yeah.
Because I barely played London until...
I was going to say, like, so is that basically when you started doing gigs when Soph had said to you about that? Were you in Nottingham then?
Nottingham. So I started in the Midlands, really. It was Nottingham, Birmingham, Leicester. And then I'd travel around. And I'd go up to Manchester. The first clubs that I got in with were actually Hot Water in Liverpool and then the Frog and Bucket in Manchester. They were the two big clubs that I got in with first and gave my first weekends. And then, just traveling up, and I just went all in. Like, I spent all the money on travel, as you know, like you do that. Like, I'd hire a car to go, because I didn't have a car at the time. I'd hire a car to get to a fucking open 10-minute trial.
Yeah.
I'd spend fucking 60 quid on the petrol and whatnot just to fucking be seen by someone.
Yeah.
So I kept doing that. And then, it got to the point where I went, I can afford to live off comedy and not be a teacher anymore. So I stopped doing, because I actually did a year of full-time teaching at one point and saved up.
Yeah.
And then I went, boom, that's it. Now I'm a comedian. And then my comedy really, when you go full-time, and I know there's probably, if there's comics listening, like when you're able to finally stop your day job and this becomes your day job and your work, you become so much better, because it's all you've got.
Yeah.
And you fucking, it's your focus, and you don't get exhausted by the day job. Do you know what I mean? Because I was
Absolutely.
full-time teacher. You've got then your marking, your planning, all that, and then moonlighting as a comic, getting home at 2 a.m. I'd drive back from Liverpool at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
on a Tuesday night doing 10 minutes at Hot Water, come back, and I'd be at school at 7:30.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
And I was like, I'm fucking just, and the kids would come in and be like, hey up, ducky, you right? I was like, oh, yeah, man.
What I found when I went full time was like, because I remember I used to work in a call centre, and I remember spending so every shift, and you'd be 8 hours, and you go, God, see if I could just be using this 8 hours to sit and write and work on my act and all that stuff. But then the hard thing is when you then get that time is to actually sit down and do that.
Do it, yeah. So I struggle with, I don't know if you're like this, but I struggle with writing. I have always written on stage.
Yeah.
So I'll come up with a thought and idea at an open mic night or whatever and flesh it out while I'm on stage. I struggle with the typing it out and working it out with punchline and this and that. And I'm not very regimented. I'm sort of very, and my bits always sort of evolve, and sometimes they'll sort of, I like the way Eddie Izzard described it. He said his bits are malleable like clay, and he'll sort of change shape, and I'm like, and every time he does it's slightly different. I was like, fuck, that's kind of, you know, but can you sit down and write, or do
I
you?
try my best to, because I think if I've got any strengths, it's as a writer, I would say.
Yeah.
But I'm still trying to figure out the right process because I think it is a different thing, stand up, and I've heard people say use a different part of your brain to come up with stuff, particularly when you're speaking it as opposed to if you're writing. It can be a bit too wordy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I tend to find if I can sit down, I try my best and do an hour a day when I can.
Fuck, okay. That's
And,
fucking impressive.
Which is not always possible, but try my best, and that's like the sort of thing I try and do. And even if it's just thinking about an idea, sitting and just giving yourself the space and the time to, just let your mind think about it. Sometimes even if it's just in the car on the way to a gig, turn off the fucking podcast and music, just hit the recorder, and just while I'm driving, right, for the next half hour, 25 minutes, an hour, whatever, I just need to talk to myself about this idea.
Yep.
And you do that. And
that's such a good shout, especially when you're driving, because there's so many hours on the road.
Yeah.
And you do come up with concepts. And it's been so many times, like, again, like my missus is like my manager, because she goes, write that down. Have you? Yeah. I'll say a thought, an idea, and she goes, write it down. And so I've got my notes on my phone where I type it out.
I'm the same. I always start with the notes.
Yeah.
And then you go for there. But I think I'm still trying to figure out the right practice for me, and I think there's a couple of different ideas I've got for maybe trying to do that. I'm just about to start writing a new hour. So it's like...
Yeah, same.
It's be interesting to see, because like the special I done earlier in the year was like everything the culmination of the best bits, probably apart from one or two that I'd done since I started, really.
Yeah, yep.
And then I'd done a fringe show that was a wee bit more of a kind of like personal one sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm kind of like, right, I want to go back to an hour of just, big fucking...
Big jokes, yeah.
Jokes.
Do you know what's crazy is I'm in the exact same boat as you.
Really?
So... I just recorded my special in London, and that's going to go out online in Feb, first week of Feb. And then I'm going to Australia to do the Adelaide Fringe in Feb and March, just with a notebook to write a new show, and gigging every night, doing the whole month, potentially doing Edinburgh. But I'm going to just bash out this new hour, because my next tour, so I just did my first one, my next tour is spring 25.
So smart to do it.
Yeah. Yep. So I've got next year to get this show ready, and I've already started writing and putting things together and concepts. And I'll write notes and things, but I need to start. I think there is a value in typing things out too, and I did do that with this show. It was the first time I actually typed. Because my manager was like, "Listen, you should fucking type it," because we were placing where things should go in the hour for the filming, and it is kind of terrifying now, because, like you said, I've now recorded for my hour all my best club stuff since when I started over here, along with my favorite bits from the Cultivated Cult show, to make this hour of like, here's Thomas Green, putting that on YouTube in February, boom. What's my next hour? And so I already know what it's going to be about and where I'm headed with it.
Brilliant.
But it is like the Great Reset, isn't it? It's like, fuck. All my fucking gold is gone, and I've got to now dig for more. But it's also fucking exciting. Like, I'm so excited to go back into clubs and be like writing new shit, coming up with new concepts and ideas. I can't wait.
You've got something to play for as well, because see, when you just get like, you're doing a weekend and you've just got your 20 minutes and whatever, then you kind of can sometimes go through the motions with it.
Yeah.
Whereas for me, I feel like... the other thing that was interesting, because I had 3 months to put a fringe show together this year, because I'd recorded in March and I was focusing solely on that, and then I had to get to August, and I'd had something happen that I wanted to talk about. So it was obviously a fringe show. It's like, you do need more time than that to write a proper hour of, killer gags and that sort of stuff. But I had something to talk about and putting it together. But even given that, I was like, God, what am I going to do? But see, from that process, it was amazing how much progress I made. And see, just giving yourself the space of like, you need to fill this with something. It needs to be a new hour. Yeah. It's amazing what can happen. So I think it will always come, but that's obviously the fears. Like when you're just starting, you're going like that. Fuck, where am I going to do it? But you just need to, as long as you're doing the thing of like recording it and putting it out, it's a great thing, because it forces you to have to do that. Because otherwise... 100%. You could just stick with the same shit, but then you're not going to, improve. Because
I wanted to not be stagnant and just sit on these bits that I've done in clubs. And obviously I've written stuff over the years and added, and the things have evolved, my set's evolved. And You know, when I do a 20, I could pick from any number of bits or whatever at a club. But, you know, I've spent the last few years getting to the point where I was like, right, my goal was to headline every club I play. That was my goal, to be a headliner around the UK circuit. And so you got to get that material you did have and yourself to a point of being a headliner standard no matter where you go. And I always wanted to be the best in the bill. So got to that point, headlined, and then do my first tour. And now it's like you said, you are playing for something different. Before you were playing for clubs and your status in the circuit. Now it's like I've got a following and I've got a tour that I've just done. And it's like, right, I'm playing for my people and I'm going to keep building that audience and putting my special out and the clips and whatnot. And then I got my next hour in Spring 25. They're going to come back. I've got to have fucking new shit.
Yeah.
And then also next year when people come see me at the clubs, because there's people who still go, oh, I'll come see you throughout the year. Where are you playing this weekend or whatever? I don't want them to be like, I fucking saw that in the special, man.
Yeah.
I want them to come and see new shit and be like, fucking, you know what I mean? Like, and enjoy that. So, and for me too, I don't want to be stuck. I want to keep evolving, and because I'm a better writer and performer now than I was a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. So that's what I'm excited about, going, fuck, what am I going to come up with now? Like, you know, I think that's like, it's like, what's Mark going to come up with now?
Yeah,
like
100%.
your fucking special at the Kings was unbelievable.
Thank
know,
you, man.
Yeah, it's fucking awesome, man.
Well, that's it. You just kind of want to do it again and do a better version of it. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's kind of what I'm at now. And you're also like, right, okay, like, yeah, what's happening in the world now? Where am I at? Well, you know, because even, you know, it's probably been whatever. That was March, so in December. So it's been, you know, best part of a year. So, you know, you're even the sort of stuff you want to talk about changes.
Yeah.
You know, it's probably stuff I look back on now, and even my perspective has changed on certain things since I spoke about it. You know what I mean? Just like,
So true. Yeah, I've even looked like back at like my, because obviously I'm in the editing stage at the minute with my hour,
sure.
and I'm like, it's a special. I can't wait to put it out. I'm excited. First hour putting it out, but I'm also like, I can't wait to put it out because I'm so ready to like
Let it go.
And crack on with the next bit, because I think it is exciting. I think that's what we're really lucky about in this job, is that we're always working with different people. We're always performing in different places. It's never the same thing. It's always different. Every night's different. Every crowd's different. And I love that. Whereas, you know, even when I was teaching, it's like you're teaching the same curriculum every year. It's the same. Hey, in term 1, term 2, whatever, you're teaching this and this block of work. And it's like, you probably found that in the office. It felt very tedious.
Yeah.
You know? And to people who do that, that's fine. But like for me personally, I fucking ADHD, you know, I need things, I just, you know, to be different.
See when you left the church and stuff like that, was stand up partly a thing of like like, you know, taking the bull by the horns in terms of life and just going, I'm going to do the thing that I want to do, kind of, like, was that part of it?
100%, man. You've hit the nail on the head there. Not on the cross. And no, but no, I feel like at the time, I remember I was actually teaching back at the old school, and I remember this was after the marriage had broke down. I was still at the school, and I remember being in the classroom, and I remember I was teaching, and I remember just being like, there's a maths lesson. And I had a really lovely class. I was really lucky, and but I remember thinking like, this job, I like this job, and I've got some great friends that I teach with, great people, and that's what I mean. Like, people, office jobs, whatever you do, doesn't matter. Like, if you're happy, that's what's important.
Yeah.
And I remember feeling not satisfied. I remember feeling like I want to perform. I want to be a comedian. I remember knowing that feeling. I remember sat there in the classroom and I had this moment
Surely
of like,
as the teacher, you could have gave yourself the same 15 minutes that you got when you were a kid.
yeah. They didn't get heaps of the material, but they were a great audience.
Right, guys, if you guys don't stop talking, I'm going to do a set at the end of the week.
And it's going to be about you and you and you. But yeah, no, I basically, I remember a vivid moment. I can remember being at the classroom, everything. I remember the setting, everything. And I was stood there in front of the whiteboard and just being like, this isn't what I want to be doing. And I saw like a flash sort of like of what I knew how safe I was as well. Like before that, I remember having these like moments of being like, I could see my life because there was a pattern with my other mates who were at that church and were teachers, and everything was safe. It was lovely, but it wasn't the adventure of the comedy and the stuff I'm talking about with wanting to do all this stuff. And it was I just saw it and I was like, I don't want that life. That's not what I'm wanting to do. And I remember that was literally when I left the church and moved here. I'd never fucking come to the UK, and I went to London and went, fucking let's do it. Let's just fucking go. And that, when I look back on it, I was like, fuck, that was a big thing to do. Like, I just bought a fucking one-way ticket, just
crazy,
went. And then to start doing stand-up, I was like, yes, this is what I want to do. Fucking, I've just done it. And it was about me also expressing myself, but also like learning about myself. What do I think about stuff, and what do I? But I'm not a very opinionated political comic or anything like that. I'm very silly, and I'll talk about stuff. But like, I'm not very controversial, is what I'm saying. Do you know what I mean? I'm very much like just like having fun. But it was still me, like in terms of finding out about myself, like traveling. How am I when I go abroad? What things am I scared of? What things do I enjoy? What like cultures and things do I like, enjoying and being a part of? And you know what I mean? Like it's just...
And you'd never have found out any of that stuff if you just stayed.
Because Adelaide, man, it's very insular. It's very small, like I said, and everyone knows everyone. And I just felt like I could see my safe Adelaide life as a teacher at this school, in that church community. I could see all that happening. And then it was that moment when I'd left the church, but I was still teaching, when I was like in that maths lesson going, what am I doing? I know what I want to do. And that's when I just decided to hand in my resignation, and I said, I'm going to move to the UK, and I just bought a ticket. Wow. And they were like, okay. And fucking just did it.
Amazing, man. That's really brave. And I think like that's not only just the job, but then obviously the church as well. Like, and to be able to be strong enough to get out of those situations and choose something else must have taken a lot, man. So
thanks, man.
It's very impressive.
I appreciate it, bro. Yeah. Also, I when I think about it as well, fuck me, it's great for material.
Mate, 100%.
Like,
I wish I had a fucking, as an altar boy, no one ever touched me or anything. It's fucking get fuck all, man.
What's wrong with me? Yeah, I think that's the thing, is like these experiences, whether they're good or bad, it's quite amazing you can talk about it, because there's people who connect with those. So when I went back and did that show Cultivated in Adelaide, and I did it in Perth as well, because actually it was Sloss who told me to do the show. Yeah. He's like, why haven't you spoke about this? Yeah. And I went, oh, okay. And so I just went to Perth and just started talking about it and wrote the show. Yeah. I did Perth and Adelaide 2021, so it was during the fucking Pando. And then...
There's another one. The Pando. Fuck off. Is that what Australians seriously call it?
I don't know. I fucking do.
Well, this is Australian news. And 500,000 people have died in the Pando.
From old Covey. But yeah, so basically,
we didn't have enough ventos, and we fucking hell, man.
In the UK, the NHSO. What's the O for? It's already abbreviated. But yeah, so basically, fuck, what were we saying?
Yeah, talking about the Pando, during the Pando.
Oh yeah. So I went back and did that show. Yeah, Cultivated, and I had I cannot tell you how many people came up to me, and I had people crying who were like, I had one mum come up to me and she goes, I just realised what my daughter's been trying to tell me, and your show has made me realise that this is what she felt at the church we went to, And she was like, and she gave me a big hug. She says, I want to say thank you. And so I'm going to go call my daughter. And she's like, this is amazing. And then I had another mum come up to me and being like, I've been arguing with my daughter. And I never really understood why she was so angry about stuff with the church. And then now I get it. And then I had a couple of guys come up to me and be like, bro, I fucking went to a church like this and I thought no one else would get it.
Yeah.
He goes, and then I had other people come up to me and go like, fucking cunt, did you make that shit up? That's fucking weird. So there was such like an amalgamation of people who like either experienced, but either way, it was still people connected in their own way, whether they'd been through that shit or they hadn't. It was like, hey, I know someone, or this is my thoughts on extremist religion. You know, there was different things they would take from it. You know, all the sense of community. When I talk about that, people were like, oh, fuck, you know, I was, you know, that was me, but not in a church setting, in a different setting. Yeah. You know what I mean? So
that sounds, and that's the great thing about, as you say, art or doing stand-up or whatever, just telling your story and then, like, you know, people can relate to it. And certainly I know for myself, like, the thing I loved about comics when I was, like, you know, working in a call centre or something, I'd be listening to comedians and you would hear them bits and you go, oh, it's not just me.
Yeah.
And that's a great thing, like, to give people, and even for yourself though as well. Like, have you ever heard that George Carlin quote? And he says, art is a race against yourself with no reward except the satisfaction of explaining yourself.
Oh, fuck.
And I think particularly when you've been through something like what you have, and it's and it would be so hard to explain to a lot of people and stuff like that, and been having that outlet to go on stage and do it and have people not understand and all that, but laugh and then come up to you at the end and all that. It's a great thing, and it's, you know, imagine you didn't have that opportunity to do it. That's
the thing is I it's so true about connecting with other people, and I think like that's why people also like going to stand up, because it's a release. Yeah, it's a connection. I think humans just want connection. And then there's people that you connect with more than others. Like there's some stand-ups that I love that maybe you won't love as much, or vice versa, because, you know, hey, fuck it, you know, there's obviously the greats that you fucking like, you know, everyone like has admired parts of their work or whatever. But I think, it's pretty fucking cool, and I'm so glad I'm fucking doing it. Yeah. Like, it's the best job, man. I mean, I say it's the best job in the world. I mean, there's some people who will be like, people go, I don't know how the fuck you talk to people. It terrifies me. Yeah. But I'm like, but I'm terrified of heights. Like, you fucking jump out of planes. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I couldn't fucking do that. Yeah, and you'd probably say you're more terrified of staying where you were in your old job. And I'm terrified of churches. And I'm really terrified of these porn demons as well. That's the thing that scared me today. I'm like, oh my God. Tell you what I love, though. Fuck me, I love an umbrella. Every time you see it, you just think of Glasgow and the you know, the friendly man who came up to you. That's funny. What makes you think of Glasgow? Fucking umbrellas, bro. Aye. Yeah. That's kind of funny. The funny thing about that is he's sort of emasculated you. He's like, you should have one of these for your lassie. I'll give you it, but I'll also kind of make you feel like you're a bit of a cunt. I was like, fuck. I'm like, thanks, man. I walked away like, oh, I couldn't even provide shelter. Oh, man. Well, listen, Thomas, I think that about covers it. Thanks so much for joining us today. I'm sorry that it's just me and you left at this point. It's been really, I've really enjoyed the chat. Thanks to Steve-O. Steve-O's had to fuck off over, but... we're going to find out if we're related. That's it. He's going to do his 23andMe or whatever it's called. But listen, Thomas, thanks for joining us. Before you go, have you got anything to plug? You know, you see you get your special coming out in February. Where can people find you apart from that? Yeah, so my special will be on YouTube, but you can find me on all socials at Thomas Green Comedy, and then I'll be announcing my next tour next year for Spring 25. But I'm also going to be filming another special later next year in Glasgow. So fucking look out for that. That'll absolutely. Keep an eye out for that with Thomas. You doing it at Stand? Yeah, hopefully, that's why I'm planning to do it. Yeah. Perfect. Brilliant room for that. Oh, yeah. I would highly recommend Thomas as well. We'll obviously plug it and stuff near the time as well, and hopefully get as many folk who like us along as possible. Thanks, man.
But thanks so much for joining us, mate. Just I always need this bit at the end of, but it's the camera will just be on me. But sometimes if I'm sitting next to someone, they just don't know what to do. But basically, I just need to plug the socials. So for the listeners, as ever, please remember to like and subscribe on YouTube. Give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and you can follow us at Some Laugh Pod on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. And remember to sign up to the Patreon as well for as little as £3 a month. If you would like to send us any questions, you can do so by our email address, which is somelaughpod@gmail.com. And of course, as we plug it in every episode now, there's still tickets available for the Pavilion and then the March too. So hopefully see you there. But aside from that, guys, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll speak to you soon.